Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend and coach, John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Hey Jim, I'm doing good. It's good to be with you. I was a little sad today because I had 1 minute to talk to you before we started recording.
Well, with all the campuses and the huge staff and the multi-million dollar budget, I've been elevated to the position of I'm the guy that has to go home and let the dog out. So I too had to understand the constraints of time because I have a puppy, 7-month-old puppy who's either destroying my home or happy, depending on the length of our conversation. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay for once. What's on your mind today, John? What's 292, man? That's a lot of episodes. Have we run out of
Yeah.
things to talk about yet?
I don't think so. We've
No.
been polling our audience a little bit, Jim, and they've
Yeah.
uh, they've uh, given us some things to talk about and that they'd like us
Okay.
to tackle. And
Yeah.
so over the next, I don't know how many weeks, we're gonna be tackling some of the subjects
Good.
that our listeners and watchers have said, "Hey, would you help us think through these things?" And so when I do run out of material, we just have this wonderful group of people that follow, and
Yeah.
they're just full of ideas. And so
Yeah.
we learn how to tap into that. And so today, my hope is that what we're going to talk about will land well
Right on.
with our audience. And the topic today is getting out of our own way.
Yeah.
Um, Jim, you and I have been working with pastors at some level for a long time.
Yeah.
And when you are in it for a while, you see trends, you see things that repeat and patterns. And I think one of the biggest leadership problems, not in terms of size, it's just the most common, maybe that's a better
Right.
way to put it,
Yeah.
is navigating the space between our ears.
Yeah.
Jim, we get in our way a lot of times as leaders, and sometimes we are our own worst enemy. We are our self saboteur,
Yeah. Yeah.
so to speak. And I think there is this thought that leadership challenges always come from external obstacles. It's always a lack of resource, or
Right.
it's always fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think many times the challenges we face come from the inside.
Absolutely.
Uh, some examples: self-doubt,
Yeah.
fear of failure, perfectionism,
Yeah.
um, maybe an unwillingness to adapt
Yeah.
or be teachable, um, and so I think these are things that I've noticed not just in the leaders that we help, but also in my own life
Right. Yeah.
that trip me up more than I would care to admit. And so the more self-aware I get, the more I learn to manage that inner dialogue
Yeah.
and emotional set of triggers,
Right.
which we're not going to talk about triggers today, but I think we all know when a button gets pushed in our life.
Yeah.
Um, when I learn to become aware of those, Jim, and manage them better, it, I get out of my own way.
Yeah.
And uh, I've heard this said by multiple people: you must lead yourself before you can lead others. So really, that's kind of what we're talking about. Getting out of my own way has to do with
Yeah.
self-leadership. So I want to stop and just hear your initial thoughts on this subject.
I think leadership is the culmination of what we are, what we're not, what we believe, what we don't yet, what we doubt, what we fear, what we love, what we're pursuing. It isn't this. I wish it was this, step by step, clear guided. It isn't. It's courage, it's fortitude, it's resilience, it's faith, all coming together to express itself. So if I've been hurt, it doesn't take much for my leadership courage to be diminished because someone raises their voice in a way others have raised their voice to me, or someone has a negative idea, or self-doubt, whatever that is. I think I think the illusion that, if I have a vision, it's all taken care of. It's not. The vision has to come through a person. And so I love this thought, the self-sabotaging. I wonder how many great things didn't come to pass because someone talked themselves out of doing that great thing. And every time God talks
Right.
to somebody in the Bible, just about every time, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is their disqualification, their lack of ability,
There you go.
their weakness, it's not a bad place to start in the conversation, but it's a terrible place to conclude the conversation. God never allows,
Yeah.
my profession of all my frailty to be the end of the conversation. As long as we keep talking, eventually I will believe about myself. I'll believe about the cause, whatever God believes. But I think it's great. I think it's a very important conversation we're about to have, and that people who are listening right now, listen to what John has to say because it'll prevent the eventual failure of every dream you have because you can talk yourself into quitting or talk yourself out of
Yes.
succeeding. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about four practical things here today,
yeah,
Jim, that I think might help. There's probably a lot more than four,
sure.
um, but I think that might be all I have the ability to speak to, and
Yeah.
maybe that's all that our listeners and watchers can tolerate is just four.
Right.
Um, so the first one, and we've already alluded to it, is self-awareness.
Yeah.
Um, I think there is this part of Christianity that whenever you insert the word self in any sentence, they automatically think
Right.
selfishness,
Yeah.
self-absorption, self-centeredness, and self-awareness is not that.
Right.
It's not the same thing as self-absorption. Here's here's the truth. You can't change something about yourself unless you're aware
Right.
of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
If you're clueless about it, how do you change and grow if you have no understanding that, wow, this is something that's going on in my
Right.
life that
Yeah.
needs addressing.
Yeah.
Um, and here's where I kind of find spots or places to grow in self-awareness. One is getting quiet.
Yeah.
And Pastor, I want to encourage you that quiet is not your enemy. Quiet
Mm.
is not a waste of your time. Quiet isn't the devil's playground. I don't know. I could go on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Learning how to quiet yourself with the Lord in an open journal and
Hmm.
just let God start talking to you.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be about other things, but many, many times it'll be about what's going on in your world and what's getting in your way.
Yeah.
And Jim, in my personal times with the Lord like that, so often God is coming back to certain themes in my
Mm.
life
Yeah.
that are getting in my way. And I'm going to be really transparent, like
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
Like I've been a Christian for over 50 years. What? And why should fear control my life anymore? Well,
Hmm.
apparently there's still ground to conquer there in my
Sure.
life. But
Yeah.
but if you read my journal, you would see some repeated themes that come back. I come back to, I come
Yeah.
back to, I come back to. So I think getting quiet and listening to the Lord, and
Yeah.
uh, and I don't probe in those moments. I just say, God, it's like David, search me,
Yeah.
search my heart. God, if there's something there that we need to talk about, here I am. And
Yeah.
you'll be surprised if you'll slow down for 5 minutes and
Mm.
get quiet, how much God will download to you.
Right on.
So that's one way. I love personality profiles. I think they're very insightful. Disc
Yeah.
is a long, Disc is one of the, longest running personality profile systems, and I think it still delivers. There are many
Yeah.
others. I won't list them all, but I think getting to know how God puts you together is part of self-awareness.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why certain things bother me and why some certain things, like light me up, like I'm
Yeah.
excited about. Um, and then here's the third piece for me, of self-awareness, and it's those humans who are closest to me.
Yeah.
The people who know me best and love me the most
Yeah.
are wonderful mirrors in my life. to show me things that I'm blind to.
Yeah.
And so I think this is the first part of getting out of our way is
Right.
realizing what in the world does get in our way
Right.
in
Yeah.
terms of what's going on in our thinking, in our thought patterns. Jim, what do you think about this first one?
I think it's just wonderfully sound and comprehensive, John. That I heard an interview once with the actor Steve Carell, who plays Michael
Mm,
Scott on The Office.
yes.
I'd never seen the show, but he was coming out and somebody was doing like an NPR interview on his new, series and so forth. It was coming to America. And he said, describe to us the character you play. And he said, well, you ever have a neighbor that like, has a bunch of blind spots in the car and they keep running over your garbage cans? Like Michael Scott is a walking blind spot. It's funny to watch. The whole show is him being not self-aware, really. And,
Yes.
and that's why it's so funny and so tragic and so uncomfortable. And most of the people around him don't seem to be as concerned with helping him grow as they do kind of tolerating him or mocking
Yes.
him and that's the show. But I I like the thought of having people around me. We have an honesty pact. And if I'm too
Yes.
loud, if I'm too soft, if I'm too hard, if I'm too whatever, I need you to tell me because it's by definition a blind spot is something I can't see. I need someone else
Yes.
to see it from a perspective that can show it to me.
Mm,
And my wife and I have this agreement when what do you think of this? Or I'm discouraged. Sometimes she'll kind of be a little bit rough because she's a D in the disc assessment.
mhm.
I think the D stands for darn strong. She's a darn strong woman, you know, and I just, but to give permission, say it any way you want to say it. Just tell me what I don't see. You won't hurt me
Yes.
because I know you love me. People that
Yeah.
love me can say anything to me, and people that don't love me shouldn't say anything to me. But if I know
Yeah.
you love me, then even though your words hurt, I'm grateful for them. So I think having
Mm,
the right people, I wouldn't say this to your whole congregation on Sunday morning, but I'd
there you
say it to
go.
close friends, family members, people you
Yes.
trust, people whose opinion you
Yeah.
respect. I would give them permission and ask for input. Tell me three things about me you like and three things about me you want to improve on. Don't just say three things you want to improve on because most people would feel that's critical. So let them say three nice things first so they can feel
Mm,
better about saying the three other things. But I love the idea of iron sharpening iron is brilliant.
yeah. So this is probably not a great example, but this just popped into my mind when our boys played sports. I would go to their games and I would tell myself, relax, be
Yeah,
calm,
right.
don't overreact. What? And I got to the point where I had to tap my friends whose kids were on the team,
Yeah.
say, if I get obnoxious, would you just tell me?
Yeah.
I don't want to be obnoxious, but sometimes I get so into the sport.
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's what you're saying is having some people around you that love you enough and
Yeah.
notice, hey, this is hurting you. This is tripping you
Yeah.
up, and you
Right.
may not see it. So
Yeah.
self-awareness. Here's a second way that we get out of our own way, and that's to tame our inner dialogue. Um, I had a pastor tell me I think we were driving in a car going somewhere together to some event, and he said, "John, the voice in my head wants to beat me raw."
Wow.
I've never heard anybody put it like that
Yeah. That sounds like a
before.
Southern expression.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was just like, huh. And it reminded me that we
Mm.
all have this inner dialogue going on
Yeah.
all day long.
All day long.
We call it self-talk,
Yeah.
and it's this running internal conversation we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about what that friend of mine said, Jim, and I was reminded of the man in the tombs who was demon possessed,
Mm.
and he was cutting himself.
Yeah.
He was full of self-hatred.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many of us cut ourselves with our words,
Sure.
ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
An author by the name of Hezekiah Walker. I think I like anybody whose first name is Hezekiah. Just
Yeah.
cool first name. Uh, he he said this: each and every day, people sabotage themselves with "I can't" or "I'm not good enough" phrases.
Yeah.
in their
Sure.
minds. And so, Jim, taming our inner dialogue, it's more than ignoring the negative words running around in our head and then spilling out of our mouths sometimes afterwards. It's taking those negative phrases, those negative words, capturing them and replacing them with the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah. Right.
And this is where taming the inner dialogue, there's not just a negative, like a don't say those bad things about yourself.
Yeah.
It's in addition, what's true?
Yeah.
What's God say is true about me? Um, and
Yeah.
this is hard work.
Yeah.
I've lost count, Jim, of the number of conversations I've had with pastors in the last 20 years. And I would listen to them convince themselves that they couldn't do what I knew they were fully capable of doing
Right. Yeah.
because I had been working with them, or some of our team had been working with them for a while. So we knew how these guys are built.
Right.
These gals are built. And I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times watching somebody self-sabotage right
Yeah.
in front of my eyes,
Yeah.
thinking you are your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Stop, stop, stop cutting yourself
Yeah.
and hurting yourself. So, what
Mm.
do you think about this second idea of the inner dialogue, Jim?
Yeah. Above all else, guard your heart, for from it flows the issues of life. Right. So
Yeah.
there is an inner narrative that doesn't just see things, it digests things, it metabolizes things, it orders things in our heart. So that thought of I have to guard that. It's not going to come naturally. It's going to be effort. It's going to be supernatural. It's going to be
Yes.
an ongoing fight. But that I'm so stupid, or man, what an idiot, or why you like that? Like none of that's productive. And what's funny is I know like, people like no one even said that to them. They're not repeating what their mother screamed at them or their father screamed at them. It's a self-deprecating voice that plays in their head constantly where they're looking for failure, and when they find it
Mm,
they jump on it. I Not every voice in my head is God's voice, right? Not I
that's right.
mean I can hear thoughts and wonder, where did that come from? It didn't come from God, it didn't come from me. Where did that come from? So I'm not getting into spiritual warfare type teaching right now, but that thought that I can go down a trail that I didn't initiate, I didn't invent, it's not part of my history, that all of a sudden there's a thought and that thought becomes, whether it's the Garden of Eden and a tree with a talking snake,
Yes.
whatever it is, I have to be careful. The voice that I listen to is God's voice. And so when I get these fears or angers or frustrations or discouragements, again, why so downcast, oh my soul? Put your trust in God, which means I'm not
There you
putting my
go.
trust in God. That's why my soul is so downcast. So
Yeah.
guarding that narrative, waking up in the morning, getting your mind right, facing everything with that right mindset of scripture, identity, the power of God, you're going to make it. And if you don't, then everything's against you. It's just a matter of finding the things to prove that premise.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Pastor, there are going to be enough people in your world
Yeah.
who will try to send a negative narrative to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Obi-Wan.
devil will certainly do that.
Yeah.
Stop piling on yourself.
Yeah.
Become
Yeah.
your own best friend.
Yeah. That's a great way to say that. I think that thought of, somebody, you're getting ready to walk up to the platform. It's happened to every pastor, and someone just wants to attack you at that moment as you're getting ready to deliver the word of God. I remember this. People are really blind about what you do for a living if you're a pastor. They really have no
Yes.
idea. The grace of God makes impossible things look easy. That's why we all think we can do the things that God's grace has put on other people, or maybe even do a better job. So he loves us having a good day. I'm going to hit him up about the temperature in the sanctuary again. And I'm going to use my angry voice this time to tell this young whippersnapper, that kind of silly stuff. We all know, we think that person's wrong. That person should have found a better time, a better way, a better place, or not said anything at all. We're quick to be frustrated about that person, but remember, that voice is also that can be you that does that as you walk up to the platform. I have nothing to
Mhm.
say to these people. They're not going to get the sermon. It's not going to be a good day. No one respects my leadership. You're convincing yourself of defeat before the match even begins.
Yeah.
We all know that person that does that is wrong. Don't you be that person that does
Yeah.
that as you walk into a meeting or head home for the night and walk in the door as a father or a mother. You don't let that cranky old lady that lives inside of you, talk. Tell her to be quiet. That's.
Yes. Yeah. And so self-awareness,
Yep.
growing, self-talk,
Yep.
and taming that. Here's the third thing that I think gets in the way of a significant amount of leaders, and that is perfectionism. And I would say to you
Mm,
that if you want to get out of your own way, perfectionism has to go.
yeah. Yeah, it really does.
Perfection is the enemy of good.
Mm,
Some guys spend 80 hours on their sermon. I'm exaggerating.
mm. Yeah.
Just to get that last percent and a half perfect.
Yeah.
Um, could I hazard a guess to say that's probably a waste of your time?
Sure it is.
Because God doesn't need you to be perfect for him to use you.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I'm just going to lay it out here. You will never preach the perfect sermon.
Mm.
I'm not saying be lazy and don't prepare,
Right.
but learn what in God's economy in your life, learn what good enough is.
Yeah.
Jim, I can stay up to 3 in the morning working on a talk. There are
There you
certain
go.
talks that I've given some version of for many years, and I'm always tinkering. I'm
Sure.
always
Yeah. Same here.
trying to make it a little bit better, a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when I was a young guy, I would lose sleep. I would lose my peace
Yeah.
over something that didn't come out just right
Yeah.
in the talk I mean, and I look back at that and I think it's just like, oh my word, John, you were so messed up. Like, how in the world did God ever use you? And
Hmm.
that's the point.
Yeah.
Paul said, in my weakness, God's strength is displayed.
Yeah.
So now when I get up to talk and teach, I pray something like this. Lord, I thank you that you're going to be on that platform with me today for
Yeah.
real. Thank you that I don't have to press or impress today.
Yeah. That's good.
I have nothing to prove to this audience. Help me to relax,
Mm.
have fun, be myself, who you made me to be,
Yeah.
and just get out of your way and let you do your thing. And
Mm.
I have never preached the perfect sermon, never will preach the perfect sermon, don't need to preach the
Yeah.
perfect sermon. Now, if you're not studying and preparing,
Right. That's different.
please,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You need to put in an honest effort
Yeah.
to prepare a talk, but let go of this quest for perfectionism.
Yeah.
I I have allowed paralysis in my life
That's the word. Yeah.
because I thought I needed to be perfect or whatever I was doing needed to be perfect.
Yeah.
And and I got in my own way so many times. Here's the good news. I was really bad at that. I really was terrible with this particular one, perfectionist. I grew up with a history of perfectionistic behavior.
Wow.
It and so it's genetic almost for
Yeah.
me. But you know what? Your genealogy does not dictate your future.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
You can learn, you can unlearn perfectionism
Yeah.
and get to this place where you know honestly to the Lord that this is good enough
Yeah.
and he's going to use it.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about this third one, Jim?
Yeah, I don't suffer from that one. I'm kind of a ready, fire, aim guy. Always have been. A D minus got me the same credit from the school as an A plus did. So why work so hard? So I don't I but I've coached people that like it just isn't good enough yet. And I try to use the analogy, there's painting a wall. There's a beginning, a middle, and end, and anybody can see if it's done, but there's a painting, a work of art. How do we know when it's done? One more brush stroke. There's always more time. There's always more, a little of this, a little more of that. You can have, an inch of paint, so many layers of paint trying to make this thing perfect. And I don't think it makes that big of a difference, really. I, it's hard to know when to quit on a work of art. It's easy to know when to quit on painting a wall, right?
Yes.
So there's a certain wisdom that everybody has to have when good enough is enough without it being, well, it's just good enough. I don't mean that. Like it's good, and that's enough, right?
There
It's
you go.
that's
I like
good,
that.
and that's enough. So it's not it's
I
that's
like
good
that.
enough. It's not mediocre. It's just, but that if I gave it another 20 hours, it might be that 3% better. And maybe that's okay depending on what you're doing. If you're doing some huge address to some huge, you're preaching in a stadium to tens of thousands, I take the extra 20 hours, but we don't have that luxury, do we? I mean,
That's right.
we're we're conversational. We got a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, whatever it is. I'm speaking 3, 4 times this week. So I
Right.
can't put 20 hours into those. I can put 20 years into my 2 or 3 hours of preparation, and
Yeah.
it's good, and that's enough. And I'm going to put this in your hands, Lord, as an offering, and see what you do with it. And now it's a
Yep.
father-son project. It's not all on me. I have a God
That's
who
right.
anoints, and I can trust him.
You said something really cool there, this father-son project.
Yeah,
How much better would our leadership and our life be and our enjoyment of both
yeah,
if we viewed life as a father-son project?
much better.
Like
Yeah,
God is going, if you do your part, God is going to do the heavy lifting
yeah,
for you. So let go of perfectionism
yeah,
because I fear that you will miss out on some of the wonderful things God wants you to do and experience because of it.
yeah,
It's getting in your way. Let me give you one more.
yeah,
This is going to be totally self-serving. Get a coach.
yeah,
Get a
absolutely.
coach. I have a coach. I've
Yeah,
been coaching pastors for a long time.
yeah,
And sometimes I can coach myself. And other times it's like I have too much emotion going on with all
yes,
of this.
yeah,
I cannot see the forest for the trees.
yeah,
And my coach, he helps me to see how I'm getting in my own way.
yeah,
And he sees what I can't. He
yeah,
he I know he cares about me. He tells me the truth. He challenges my thinking.
yeah,
And I I'm just absolutely grateful for him in my life.
yeah,
And I've heard more than a few pastors say, "Well, I don't have time for a coach." I understand. You think it's one more thing you got to add to your calendar. It's one more. My
mhm,
coach is going to give me a boatload of homework, and
right,
then I've already got enough homework, and there's all kinds of things. Like back in the
yeah,
day, people would look at you funny if you said you had a counselor or a coach. Like, what's wrong with you?
right,
Now I look at people funny when they say they don't have a counselor and don't have a
yeah,
coach,
I like that.
um,
Yeah,
because I think that's weird.
yeah,
That you don't have a dispassionate third party,
yeah,
doesn't have a pony in the race person
yeah,
in your life who cares about you more than about your ministry
right, right,
and knows how to coach you, the person. This is about this, what we're talking about today has got nothing to do with this has got nothing to do with consulting. This has nothing to do with organizational development. It's all about our own personal development.
yeah,
And so can I encourage you, and I know Jim and I probably said this, this is episode 292. We probably said this 290 times.
yeah, yeah,
life is so much better when you're not walking through it alone. Right
Yeah.
before we started recording today, I had someone call me, just a
Mm,
dear pastor, young guy. I
mm,
love him. I respect him so much. And he uh, he just said I going through something, and I thought maybe I'll call John.
mm.
Maybe he can talk me off the ledge, so to
Love it.
speak.
I love it.
And I hope I made his day lighter. I hope, and that he doesn't believe the inner dialogue that says nobody cares about what you're going through.
Right.
You know, they're gonna, if you tell somebody what you're going through, they're gonna think less of you. I
Right.
mean, all this stuff that goes
Right.
on. You know, my my goal, my dream would be that every pastor has a coach.
Yeah.
That it would be abnormal to not have a coach. Why? Because I happen to
Man.
think your life, my life, personally and professionally, would be so much better,
Yeah.
so much more fruitful, so much more fun
Yeah.
than if we do it by ourselves or try to do it
Yep.
in a vacuum. So, Jim, I know how you feel about this fourth one, but I'm gonna let you speak to it.
John, anywhere where you see excellence, you don't see isolation. So
Mm.
I think Tiger Woods, for example, has like a psychology, sports psychologist coach, and he's got a swing coach, and he's got a putting coach, and he's got and I know we're talking about a very specific set of skills, but I, I don't know. I don't know what the right reason would be. I can't think of a good reason not to have a coach. You can say, well, it costs money. It takes time. Well, so does not having a coach. Not having a coach costs money and takes time. There's an efficiency lost. I think too often, especially in the church, we think budget instead of investment. We think
Mm.
like a household budget. I have salary coming in, I have bills going out, and I want to leave margin. But if we were business people and we were running a business, we would look at investments. We'd look at marketing. We'd look at, caring for our employees. We'd look at all kinds of things because we realize it's not a union job. It's not a household budget. We need to make investments and take risks. And I think this is an excellent investment. I think it's an excellent risk. It's short term, it's low cost, it's low commitment as far as it's not a 10-year contract. Just saying, I like to share a couple of things. I like for a trained coach to ask me some questions. I like to talk to a trained coach about things that are challenges in my life, dreams,
Yeah.
fears, whatever. And as a coach, I have watched, as you have, many, many, many times, people get solid from something that is not solid. And
Yes.
it took a few hours, it took a few dollars, but it was a great investment of the church's resource in your time and money. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm giving myself to it as you are in many ways, not to the same level, but I believe in it. I look forward to those sessions because you just never know what God's going to do, but it's
Yeah.
profound. The change is profound.
Yeah. So we hope that today has been encouraging to you.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit like exhorting
yeah,
as well
yeah,
to you. I believe that if you're listening or watching today, that God has his hand on your life. He's got things for you to become, things for you to do, people for you to reach and help. And he wants you to learn, to learn, all of us to learn how to get out of our own way
amen.
so that what he has for us to become and for us to do isn't hampered by a lack of these things that we talked about today. So
Yeah,
that's our encouragement to you today. I hope that it helps. I did, Jim, I did want to give a program note before
yeah,
we sign off today. There will be no podcast on July 1st. This podcast will be coming out the week prior,
Okay.
last Tuesday in June, and no podcast on July 1st due to the 4th of July week. And
Okay.
we will resume. They will start dropping again on July 8th. So if you don't see us on July 1st, unless Jesus has come back, we're still here.
And you're gonna have some free time because of holiday weekend. So catch up on the ones you missed in the past and enjoy them. And we'll see you
Yeah.
again soon. Right on. Well, John, thank you for your wisdom and your input. Your heart for everybody comes through when you talk. So God bless you. And God bless you, our listeners and watchers. We hope that this has been a blessing to you. As always, Converge Coach, .com is waiting for you and 30 minutes to hang out and talk. And we would love to do that. Makes our day when we get a chance to make your day. So God bless you. Keep going as you continue to lead from alignment.